Do you think there's going to be unrest with this election no matter what happens?
Hard to see how it's not. I mean, unless it blow out from one side or the other.
What do you think would be worse? I feel like
I
it would be
Trump
worse
wins,
if
it'd be
Trump
worse.
loses.
If Trump loses,
This time, I know
No.
typically,
Yeah,
I know typically the left is known for rioting more, but I think this time it's going to be like this is
Well,
kind of the last
let's
chance.
let's give you a scenario.
yeah. Sure.
Kamala wins.
Okay.
How do you react to that?
I'm pissed.
I mean, it depends on what circumstances. So let's say that Kamala wins. It's really, really, really tight. And she's declared the victor. As long as I don't see the proof of widespread electoral fraud, then she's the winner. And there are going to be a lot of good reasons why she was the winner, including the weakness of the ground game. They're like, we'll analyze it and we'll figure out exactly why what happened. Let me get you want worst case scenario. Here's a really great worst case scenario. And since we live in a timeline in which God clearly hates us, we may as well assume this will be the reality. So here's the worst case scenario. In 2020, there was a census. That census was done wrong. Okay, that census radically overcounted states like New York, Delaware, I believe Michigan, and it radically undercounted states like Florida and Texas. Like, this has been openly acknowledged by the Census
What do you
Bureau.
mean by that?
Whenever they do the census, they can't survey everybody, right? They take a sample.
Okay.
And so, like,
In the
they
actual
try to
ballot?
get everybody, and they get about 67% of people, but the estimate is very often wrong.
Okay.
Okay, so in 2020, they acknowledged, like, afterward, their widespread, I mean, the government acknowledged that they'd gotten the census wrong. The problem is, how do you apportion congressional seats and electoral votes? You do it based on the census, right? So, theoretically, Florida should have 2 more electoral votes, New York should have 1 fewer, and Delaware should have 1 fewer. So here's your worst case scenario. Your worst case scenario is Donald Trump wins North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada. Okay, if he wins those and he loses Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, the final electoral college tally is Kamala Harris 270, Donald Trump 268. Now,
God, yeah.
you have the state of Florida say, guys, you f***ed up the census. Okay, the census is that we should have 2 more electoral college votes. And you failed to, and you acknowledge this, you know this. So you need to rejigger. We've now been damaged. We now have standing. This election really should be Donald Trump 270, Kamala Harris 268, based on the population shifts in the country. That goes to the Supreme Court. Now you have a Supreme Court in which 6 of the justices were appointed by Republicans, including 3 by Donald Trump, deciding whether the electoral college count should be reversed based on the census failure. Okay, you want
that's
a
possible thing that could happen
for sure. Right now, I mean, by the way, the polling right now shows Trump ahead in North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada.
And those other 3
Those
are
other
like
3 are
toss-ups.
like dead even.
Yeah.
So so not only is that, and because God hates us, I think that's it's not a crazy possibility. So there's my tendency in these circumstances is to try and figure out first. People get on my case because I try to suss out the reason why things happen before I go crazy, as opposed to going crazy first and then sussing out the reason things happen. So during the last election cycle, Trump declared himself the winner on election night. And I said, that's not true. Or like on election night, I said, that's not true yet. They haven't counted all the mail-ins. So maybe he won. Maybe, I don't know. But it's not true that he won right now. And people were really, really mad at me because he had said he won. And so then I waited. And then when he started launching lawsuits, I was like, okay, well, I mean, that's his legal right. Maybe he'll show evidence. And then I didn't see him show any, real credible evidence that 12,000 votes were switched in Georgia and 20,000 were switched in Wisconsin. And I was like, okay, well, I mean, if you can't show the evidence, then it ain't there. And people got really, really mad at that. And so I think the tendency for a lot on the right, because the incentive structure is such, is that if Trump were to lose, I think there would be a lot on the right who would immediately jump to the election stolen. And it may be, but I'm going to wait to make that adjudication until I see actual evidence of how and why it was like who did the thing, right? Mm-hmm. If you show me the thing was done, I'm perfectly willing to say the election was stolen. But you actually have to show me the thing happened and how it happened. And it can't just be assumptions and it can't just be speculation. I can give you a whole range of sort of informal reasons why the election was stolen. Okay, one of them would be, how the hell do you switch out your nominee in the middle of a race? One would be the media actively attempting to suppress bad stories about Kamala Harris, about Doug Emhoff, about Tim Walz, like just covering none of it, while magnifying everything that Donald Trump, like all that's true. But those are all informal reasons that don't impact the actual count of the electoral college, right? So, that'll be my reaction if Trump loses, is to try and analyze all the reasons why and then come to sort of some sort of conclusion. If Trump wins, I think the left is going to lose their ever-loving mind. I think that they're it'll be a section of the left. I actually think that, you're right in the sense that if Trump wins, I think there'll be some brief rage that comes out of them, and then they'll just be like, well, at least for the next 4 years, like, we can rebuild, and then Trump will be gone, and then we'll move on with our lives. So that like I
But
think
you're
there'll
right.
be
It all depends on how. You're right. Like if it's a landslide for
if she
Kamala,
wins,
it's a
if she,
bit
right,
different.
if
But
she wins
if it
by
comes
if she
270
wins by
to
5
68,
million popular votes, and he wins by like 2 votes in each state, they're gonna lose it.
yeah,
Absolutely lose it. So again, like the best case scenario for America is that Trump wins big. That's like the best case scenario for America is Trump sweeps all the swing states and wins the popular.